Good evening, quiet listeners, seekers of solace in the hushed chronicles of history. Tonight we shall not journey to the intricate workshops of ancient cartographers, nor shall we decipher the forgotten languages inscribed upon weathered parchments. No, tonight our voyage takes us to a different kind of unknown. Not a land uncharted by man, but a space within the very fabric of human experience. A chasm of questions that the passage of centuries has yet to fill. We delve into a silence so profound, so utterly complete, that it birthed one of the sea's most enduring and chilling enigmas. The silent voyage of the ghost ship, the Mary Celeste. Imagine, if you will, the vast, indifferent expanse of the Atlantic Ocean in the twilight of December. The waves, rolling with a slow, hypnotic rhythm, whisper secrets against the hull of a solitary vessel. The air is crisp, carrying the sharp tang of salt and the distant, unseen promise of land. There is no storm, no squall, no violent upheaval to explain the scene that is about to unfold. Only the subtle, ceaseless hum of the ocean itself, a cosmic lullaby that has cradled mysteries since time immemorial. This is the stage upon which a haunting tableau was discovered, a moment frozen in time, a riddle etched onto the very timbers of a ship. It is a mystery that defies simple explanation, a story that resonates with the deepest fears of the seafaring soul, of vanishing without a trace, the chill of the winter air, the endless expanse of grey water, and the profound quiet. These were the initial witnesses to a puzzle that would bewilder generations. Tonight, we peel back the layers of this maritime legend, not with the intention of solving it definitively, for some riddles perhaps are meant to remain unsolved, to linger like the taste of sea salt on the wind, a persistent, unsettling flavour. Instead, we shall immerse ourselves in the very essence of the mystery, tracing each baffling clue, feeling the chill of the unspoken, and listening to the echoes of absence that still haunt the phantom decks of that fabled ship. Let the gentle rocking of the narrative carry you, let the unfathomable depths of the ocean's secrets soothe your mind, and allow the whispers of the unexplained to guide you towards a quiet rest. For in the heart of the greatest mysteries, sometimes the deepest peace can be found. A solace born from accepting what cannot be known. This is a journey into the quiet contemplation of the unanswerable, a historical lullaby woven from threads of pure enigma or story. Or rather, the beginning of this profound enigma commences on a cold, yet deceptively calm Tuesday in December, in the year of our Lord 1872. The exact date was December 5th. A date that would forever be etched into the annals of maritime lore, cloaked in a perpetual shroud of bewildered speculation. On this particular day, a stout, reliable brigantine by the name of Dei Gratia was charting its steady course across the vast, undulating expanse of the Atlantic. She was bound from New York, a bustling hive of human industry and commerce, and making her purposeful way towards the sun-drenched yet distant shores of Gibraltar, her hold laden with a mundane cargo of petroleum. Her captain, an experienced and meticulous mariner named David Morehouse, a man whose life was inextricably intertwined with the unpredictable rhythms of the sea, whose very breath carried the tang of salt, stood upon her deck, his gaze, as always, sweeping the horizon with a practiced, unwavering diligence. His hands, calloused and strong, gripped the railing, feeling the subtle vibrations of the ship's passage. The very air around him hummed with the predictable energy of a well-ordered vessel. The day had unfolded with a predictable, almost comforting monotony. The sky, a vast, unbroken canopy of pale grey, stretched endlessly above, meeting the equally grey undulating expanse of the ocean in a seamless, undistinguishable horizon. There were no dramatic clouds, no ominous swells, no hint of a brewing tempest. The wind, a steady, persistent breath, filled the Dei Gratia's sails, pushing her forward with a consistent, rhythmic purpose. The canvas taut and humming. The only sounds were the familiar creak of the ship's timbers, a comforting groan that spoke of enduring strength, the gentle slap of waves against the hull, a ceaseless hypnotic lullaby, and the distant, mournful cries of seabirds circling with an indifferent grace, their calls echoing across the vast emptiness. It was a day like many others upon the vast, often lonely stretches of the open sea, a day defined by routine and the quiet passage of time. The sun, a pale, diffused disk, hung high in the zenith of the winter sky, casting an even, muted light upon the rolling waves, its warmth a faint, distant memory. Then, at approximately 1:00 p.m., as the sun, that pale, diffused disk, hung high in the zenith of the winter sky, casting an even, silver light upon the rolling waves, a subtle anomaly disturbed the familiar monotony. One of the Dei Gratia's sharp-eyed crewmen, a seasoned sailor whose gaze was accustomed to discerning the faintest irregularities on the distant, shimmering horizon, a man whose life depended on such vigilance, let out a sudden, surprised cry. "Sail ho!" he bellowed. His voice, though strong, seemed to be swallowed almost immediately by the vastness of the ocean, yet it cut through the gentle hum of the wind. Captain Morehouse, ever alert, his senses honed by decades at sea, immediately turned his attention to the direction indicated by the sailor's pointing finger. Indeed, a vessel, distant, yet undeniably there, a solitary silhouette against the vast, unbroken canvas of the sea. At first glance, there was nothing overtly unusual about the sighting. Ships, though not a daily occurrence in that precise patch of ocean, were certainly not uncommon on these busy transatlantic routes, the invisible highways of commerce. Yet, as the Dei Gratia drew steadily closer, closing the distance with purposeful intent, a subtle, almost imperceptible sense of unease began to prickle at Captain Morehouse's seasoned instinct. The observed vessel was a brigantine, much like his own, and appeared to be roughly 9 miles away, listing subtly to one side, her sails partially set, yet moving with an odd, erratic languor, as if uncertain of her purpose. She was not responding to the Dei Gratia's repeated signals, her flag hanging limp, her decks silent. There was no apparent crew on deck, no figures visible at the helm, no sign of life or activity whatsoever. She seemed, in her silent drift, utterly abandoned, a derelict ghost upon the waves. The very stillness emanating from her was unnerving, a silent question mark bobbing on the vast expanse. Captain Morehouse, his brow now deeply furrowed with growing concern, his lips pressed into a tight line, ordered a closer approach. The Dei Gratia altered her course, her own timbers groaning softly in protest, closing the distance with a cautious, almost hesitant pace. The wind, usually a comforting friend, now seemed to carry a faint, inexplicable chill from the direction of the silent ship. As they drew within a few hundred yards, the stark details of the other ship became chillingly apparent, and with them, the profound mystery deepened its hold. Her name, painted clearly across her stern, though faded by sun and salt, was the Mary Celeste. She was indeed a brigantine, roughly 103 feet long, with a robust breadth of 25 feet and a substantial depth of 16 feet. She was of American registry, her home port hailing from the bustling, familiar harbour of New York. But her condition was utterly bewildering. Her sails, though partially set, some still unfurled, were severely damaged, some hanging in tattered strips like ghostly shrouds, others missing entirely, torn away by an unseen force. Her rigging, usually taut and precise, humming with tension, was loose and tangled, swaying idly with the ocean's gentle motion like dishevelled hair. A pump, a vital piece of equipment used to clear water from the hold, was visibly raised from its usual position, lying out on the deck, suggesting it had been recently used, or perhaps deployed in a desperate hurry. Yet despite these signs of disarray, these superficial marks of a struggle with unseen elements, the Mary Celeste did not appear to be in imminent distress. There were no visible signs of a recent collision, no gaping holes in her hull that would betray a mortal wound, no significant structural damage that would explain her apparent abandonment. She was simply drifting, silently. Captain Morehouse, a man of profound maritime experience, yet also deeply steeped in the pervasive superstitions of the sea, felt a cold knot of dread begin to form in his stomach. A ship adrift with no visible crew, yet seemingly intact, her hull sound, her cargo undisturbed, was not merely unusual, it was a chilling omen. It was the stuff of legend, of ghost stories whispered in the dim light of ships' cabins on lonely watches, tales meant to curdle the blood of even the most hardened sailor. But this was real. This was here. This was now. The very air around the Mary Celeste seemed to hum with an unholy quiet. A small party, led by the Dei Gratia's first mate, Oliver Devoe, a man known for his courage and his unwavering pragmatism, was immediately dispatched to board the enigmatic vessel. The launch cut through the water, approaching the silent ship with a mixture of professional caution, born of experience, and profound apprehension, born of the inexplicable. As Devoe and his men clambered aboard the Mary Celeste, their boots thudding softly on the silent deck, the stillness that greeted them was absolute, broken only by the creak of the ship's timbers, a mournful groan from within her very soul, and the gentle lapping of waves against her hull. There was no welcoming call, no startled cry, no frantic shout, no sign of any human presence whatsoever. Only the overwhelming, pervasive silence, a profound stillness that seemed to cling to every plank, every rope, every tattered sail. It was the silence of absence, the silence of unanswered questions, the silence of a mystery that had only just begun to truly unfold its baffling layers, demanding comprehension. The deck of the Mary Celeste was, upon closer inspection, strewn with minor debris, consistent with a ship that had weathered some rough seas, perhaps a sudden squall, nothing more. A few ropes lay tangled, a bucket had overturned, but nothing that suggested a catastrophic event or a desperate last-minute flight. A temporary awning stretched over the forward hatch to provide shade was still remarkably intact, providing shelter from the pale winter sun. What truly baffled Devoe and his men were the seemingly contradictory details that flew in the face of the notion of a hurried, desperate abandonment. Below deck, the scene deepened the enigma, weaving a tighter, more perplexing web of clues. The ship's main hatch, the primary access to the hold, was found to be securely closed, its heavy wooden timbers firmly in place. However, its forehatch, the smaller hatch at the front of the ship, was found to be partially open, lying ajar, indicating some form of recent activity below, or perhaps a hasty departure from that particular section. The ship's single lifeboat, a vital piece of survival equipment, its very purpose to offer a last desperate hope in times of peril, was conspicuously absent from its usual place, leading to immediate and widespread speculation that the crew had indeed taken to it. But why? The ship itself, for all its minor disarray, seemed entirely seaworthy, its hull sound, its masts upright. Further investigation, meticulously conducted by Devoe as he moved through the silent, echoing cabins, yielded even more baffling clues. The captain's cabin, usually the heart of a ship's command, its space intimate and personal, was found to be in a state of surprising, almost unnerving order. Personal belongings of Captain Briggs and his family were still meticulously present, a small portable organ carefully placed on a shelf, its keys silent, waiting for a melody. A child's toy, a small wooden doll discarded carelessly on a bunk, as if its owner had simply stepped away for a moment. A sewing machine, intact and ready for use, its needle poised for the next stitch. These were not the signs of a panicked flight or a desperate struggle. A meal, a simple breakfast or lunch, half-eaten, was still meticulously laid out on the table in the galley, dishes undisturbed, as if the occupants had simply stepped away for a moment, perhaps called to duty on deck, fully expecting to return to finish their meal. The cooking pot was still on the stove, its contents cold and congealed, a silent testament to an abruptly interrupted life. The very silence of the galley screamed of a normal routine, violently, inexplicably suspended. Most crucially, the ship's cargo of 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, the very substance that could have caused an explosion, was found largely intact, securely stored in the hold. Only 9 of the barrels were empty, their interiors dry, and these showed no signs of leakage, spoilage, or catastrophic rupture. This immediately and powerfully ruled out the most obvious and catastrophic explanation for abandonment: a major leak or a violent explosion of the highly flammable cargo. There was no smoke, no charring, no scorch marks, no pervasive smell of burnt timbers or exploded liquor. No evidence whatsoever of fire, either past or present. The ship's logbook, a vital record of daily voyages, of positions, of weather, was found in the mate's cabin, its pages open to its last entry. Its last entry was dated November 25th, precisely 10 days before the discovery, placing the Mary Celeste about 400 miles west of the discovery point. The stark lack of entries after this date only deepened the profound mystery of the intervening 10 days. 10 days of silent, unrecorded drift. The chronometer, a precise timekeeping device essential for accurate navigation, was conspicuously missing, as were the ship's sextant and a box containing the captain's navigational charts. These were invaluable tools that a crew fleeing a disaster would surely take with them, unless their departure was so sudden, so utterly unexpected, so instantaneous that there was literally no time to gather even the most vital necessities. The overall condition of the Mary Celeste, as observed by the bewildered salvors, was one of profound, bewildering contradiction. She was clearly a functioning vessel, a sturdy brigantine, albeit one that had seen some minor distress, evidenced by the tattered sails and tangled rigging. Yet every single living soul aboard, Captain Briggs, his wife, their young daughter, and the entire crew of 7 men had utterly vanished, leaving behind a profound and chilling silence. It was as if the very air itself had swallowed them whole, leaving not a trace of their passage, save for the ghost of their interrupted lives. The question that immediately arose in the minds of the men from the Dei Gratia, a cold, persistent whisper echoing through the silent timbers of the ship, was simple, yet utterly unanswerable, haunting in its simplicity. What could possibly compel an experienced captain, a man known for his prudence and piety, his beloved family, and a seasoned, reliable crew, to abandon a perfectly seaworthy vessel in calm seas, without a struggle, leaving behind their personal possessions, their valuable cargo, and even a half-eaten meal? The silent decks of the Mary Celeste offered no answers, only the enduring echo of profound absence, a haunting void in the vast, indifferent expanse of the ocean. To fully appreciate the profound depth and chilling resonance of the Mary Celeste enigma, one must first immerse oneself in the lives that were so abruptly, so inexplicably woven into her very timbers. This was no anonymous vessel, no mere cargo ship of unknown mariners. She carried individuals, families, each with their own hopes, their daily routines, their quiet dreams, and their shared destinies, all bound by the invisible, unbreakable threads of a common voyage across the vast, unpredictable ocean. At the very helm of the Mary Celeste, the guiding hand that steered her destiny, was Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs. His very existence was almost synonymous with the sea, a life inextricably linked to the rhythm of the waves. Born into a long and esteemed lineage of respected New England mariners, he hailed from the small maritime town of Marion, Massachusetts, a tight-knit community where the ebb and flow of the tides were as familiar and constant as the steady beating of one's own heart. Briggs was not merely an experienced seaman, he was a master mariner by the remarkably young age of 27, a testament to his innate skill and rapid ascent in the demanding world of sailing. He was widely known for his profound prudence, his unwavering piety, and his calm, unwavering temperament, even in the face of daunting challenges. His dedication to his vessel and his crew was absolute, a foundational pillar of his character. His presence on board was, for his men, a constant source of profound reassurance, a steadfast anchor in the vast, often terrifying unpredictability of the ocean. He was a man who understood the sea, respected its power, and navigated its perils with a quiet, confident authority. But Captain Briggs was not alone in his command of the Mary Celeste, nor in his experience of the sea. Aboard the vessel, on this fateful and ultimately baffling voyage, was his beloved family, his wife, Sarah Elizabeth Cobb Briggs, a woman of quiet strength and deep, unwavering devotion. Sarah was not merely content to remain on land. She often accompanied her husband on his longer voyages, embracing the unique challenges of creating a sense of home even in the vast, isolating expanse of the sea. She was not merely a passive passenger. She was an active companion, a steadfast homemaker, a quiet anchor in their shared maritime life, bringing a touch of domesticity and warmth to the stern, unyielding realities of shipboard existence. And with them, their cherished daughter, Sophia Matilda Briggs, a vibrant, spirited 2-year-old whose innocent laughter must have often echoed through the ship's cabins, a small, luminous presence amidst the constant creak of the timbers, a child's small, worn shoes, a tiny, well-loved doll, the subtle, lingering scent of a child's presence. Sophia's very being aboard brought a unique vulnerability and an even deeper layer of profound pathos to the unfathomable mystery of their collective disappearance. The image of a young family living a normal life, suddenly and completely erased, is particularly poignant. The crew consisted of 7 other men, all seasoned mariners, meticulously chosen by Captain Briggs himself for their demonstrated skill, their unwavering reliability, and their profound understanding of the sea. There was Albert G. Richardson, the first mate, a man known for his quiet efficiency, his meticulous attention to duty, and his unwavering loyalty to Captain Briggs. Andrew Gilling and Edward William Head, the second mate and steward respectively, were also experienced hands, part of the well-oiled, disciplined machine that kept the ship running with seamless precision. The remaining 4 were German sailors, Ariane Martins, Boys, Valcott and Faust, a diverse group hailing from different lands, speaking different tongues, yet unified by their shared commitment to the sea, to their duties, and to the orderly, predictable rhythm of shipboard life. They were a microcosm of the maritime world of the 19th century, men from varied backgrounds brought together by the common purpose of their voyage, their lives intimately interdependent upon the vast, often indifferent, always powerful ocean. Their routines were rigorous, their duties precise, their lives inextricably woven into the very fabric of the vessel, a living, breathing part of the ship itself. The Mary Celeste herself was a brigantine of modest yet robust size, approximately 103 feet long, with a substantial breadth of 25 feet and a considerable depth of 16 feet. She was built in Nova Scotia, Canada, in the year 1861, originally christened with the more regal yet ultimately unlucky name Amazon. However, after a series of unfortunate incidents early in her career, a minor collision, a period of storm damage, she was sold, meticulously rebuilt and ultimately renamed Mary Celeste in 1868. A fresh start, a new identity, a new hope for fairer seas. She was, by all accounts, a sturdy, well-built vessel, her timbers strong, her construction robust, meticulously designed for the rigours of transatlantic trade, fully capable of carrying substantial and valuable cargo across vast distances. Her masts soared towards the sky, her rigging was robust, and her overall design was well suited for the demanding, unpredictable voyages across the open ocean. Her final, ultimately baffling voyage commenced on November 7, 1872. She departed from the bustling, familiar harbour of New York, her hold now meticulously laden with 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol, a cargo often used for various industrial purposes, highly flammable, yes, but generally considered stable under normal shipping conditions. She was purposefully bound for Genoa, Italy, a distant port in the warm, azure Mediterranean, a journey that would typically consume several weeks, traversing the vast, often tempestuous, sometimes deceptively calm waters of the Atlantic. The initial days of the voyage would have unfolded with a familiar, almost comforting routine. The rhythmic creak of the deck underfoot, the gentle slap of waves against the hull, the rhythmic hum of the wind filling the sails, the distant melancholy cries of seabirds. These were the constant, unchanging companions of the journey, the background symphony of a life at sea. Captain Briggs, a meticulous and conscientious man, would have personally overseen the loading of the cargo, ensuring its secure stowage within the hold, and meticulously checked his navigational instruments, his charts, his reliable chronometer, his precise sextant, preparing for the long passage. Sarah, his wife, would have gracefully settled into the comforting rhythms of domestic life aboard, perhaps mending clothes by a sunlit porthole, or reading to little Sophia in the quiet comfort of their cabin. The crew, a disciplined and efficient unit, would have seamlessly fallen into their watches, their duties performed with the practiced ease of seasoned mariners. Their hands skilled, their eyes keen, they would have shared simple, hearty meals in the galley, their conversations a quiet murmur against the vastness of the ocean, their minds focused on the distant destination, the comforting routine, and the expected, prosperous conclusion of their long voyage. The last entry in the ship's logbook, meticulously recorded by First Mate Richardson, was dated November 25th. It placed the Mary Celeste about 400 miles west of the point where she would eventually be found, drifting silently, a phantom ship upon the waves. This entry indicated absolutely nothing unusual, no signs of distress, no hint of impending doom, no whisper of an anomaly. It was a mundane record of position, wind direction, and speed, consistent with a perfectly routine transatlantic crossing, a snapshot of normalcy. It was the last official whisper from a ship full of living souls. After that, only silence, the vast, unyielding silence of the ocean, holding its secrets close, its indifferent currents gently guiding a ship towards its destiny as a legend, a chilling phantom of the deep, forever marked by its baffling emptiness. The lives of Captain Briggs, his wife, their young daughter, and his entire crew of 7 men, so meticulously lived, so intimately woven into the very fabric of that vessel, simply ceased to be. Their disappearance was not a violent explosion, not a desperate struggle, not a visible calamity, but a profound, inexplicable absence, a silent, chilling erasure from the world's living memory, a void that time has never filled. In the immediate, bewildering wake of the Mary Celeste's enigmatic discovery, the human mind, in its relentless, insatiable pursuit of order, of explanation, of a comforting logical framework, immediately sought answers, but the sea, in its vast, indifferent wisdom, offered none. Her silent decks remained mute, her empty cabins offered no confessions. Thus, almost instantaneously began the ceaseless proliferation of theories, each one more tantalizing, more intricate, and more wildly speculative than the last, all desperately attempting to unravel the chilling, persistent mystery of what could possibly compel an experienced captain, a man of profound prudence, his beloved family, a 2-year-old child, and a seasoned, reliable crew to vanish without a single discernible trace, from a seemingly seaworthy vessel leaving behind a profound and haunting absence. These theories are not mere academic exercises for scholars confined to dusty libraries. They are the restless whispers of the unknown, the unsettling echoes of the unknowable, each one, in its own way, a poignant testament to humanity's desperate, enduring need to impose logic, to force reason upon the utterly inexplicable, to fill the terrifying void of absence with some semblance of narrative. One of the most immediate and, to some, most overtly plausible explanations initially centered on the brutal realities of mutiny or piracy. Imagine, if you dare, a sudden, violent, terrifying uprising of the crew against Captain Briggs, perhaps fueled by simmering grievances, by the harsh, unrelenting realities of prolonged shipboard life, by the desperate allure of the highly valuable alcohol cargo, or by some unforeseen explosive disagreement. Such a scenario would typically culminate in a swift, brutal struggle, ending with the mutinous crew escaping in the lifeboat, or perhaps heavily armed pirates boarding the vessel under cover of darkness, seizing the entire crew, and later disposing of them in the vast, silent ocean depths. However, this theory, while initially compelling in its raw drama, quickly unravels under the cold, precise light of the meticulous evidence. There were absolutely no discernible signs of a violent struggle aboard the Mary Celeste, no bloodstains upon the deck, no scattered weapons, no splintered wood that might betray a fight. No overturned furniture. The precious cargo of alcohol was found to be largely intact, securely stowed in the hold, making piracy for mere gain utterly illogical and economically nonsensical. Furthermore, Captain Briggs was widely known, universally respected, for his unwavering fairness, his profound piety, and his calm, equable nature, making a sudden, violent mutiny seem profoundly improbable, almost unthinkable among his chosen crew. The very profound silence of the abandoned ship, its undisturbed order, stood in stark, irrefutable contradiction to the violent clamour and bloody chaos that would undoubtedly accompany such a brutal scenario. The ship's bell, its most prominent form of ship-to-ship communication, its voice across the waves, remained securely in place, untouched, unmolested. Another terrifying yet enduring theory, one that resonates deeply with the primal fears of seafarers, speaks of sub-sea earthquakes or sudden localized tsunamis. Picture for a moment a sudden, violent, utterly unforeseen upheaval of the ocean floor, an immense, unseen force that momentarily lifted or violently shook the vessel, throwing it about with terrifying force, causing immediate, profound terror among the crew. In such a terrifying moment, believing the ship was breaking apart, about to capsize or be swallowed whole by the raging sea, they might have frantically and hastily launched the lifeboat, only to be subsequently overwhelmed by a larger, unseen rogue wave, or tragically swallowed by the very aqueous chaos from which they so desperately fled. This theory attempts, with some logical consistency, to explain the conspicuous absence of the lifeboat and the apparent abruptness of their desperate departure. However, the overall intact condition of the Mary Celeste, enduring such a catastrophic event without major structural damage, without gaping fissures in her hull, without shattered masts, makes this explanation difficult to accept fully. A ship that survives an earthquake of such magnitude that then continues to drift for days without a visible crew, its cargo relatively undisturbed, suggests a remarkable, almost improbable resilience that defies the scale of the postulated disaster. The notion of a mini-storm or waterspout also gains significant traction among maritime experts and the public, offering a more localized yet still terrifying explanation. Picture a highly localized, intensely violent weather phenomenon, a sudden, fierce squall that descended without warning, or a towering, spiraling waterspout that struck the Mary Celeste with brutal, concentrated force. The crew, utterly caught by surprise, overwhelmed by the immediate, localized chaos, might have frantically abandoned ship, believing it was about to capsize, to be destroyed, or to sink rapidly, only for the immediate violent segment of the storm to pass as quickly as it came, leaving the main vessel relatively unharmed, yet utterly, chillingly deserted. This scenario attempts to explain the observed damaged sails and the conspicuous absence of the lifeboat, as they might have been overwhelmed by the immediate, localized chaos and swept away. Yet, the absence of any signs of serious struggle to secure the ship or to even lower all sails properly before abandonment remains a perplexing unresolved detail. Would an experienced crew, even in the face of a sudden squall, not attempt to salvage more, or at least leave behind a clearer, more desperate indication of their intentions or their plight? The half-eaten meal, the undisturbed personal effects, continue to argue against such a panicked flight. Perhaps one of the most intriguing and uniquely tied to her particular cargo is the theory of alcoholic fumes. The Mary Celeste, as we know, carried a substantial cargo of 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol, a highly flammable substance certainly, but generally considered stable under normal shipping conditions. Imagine a terrifying scenario where some of these barrels, perhaps due to faulty construction or a subtle shift in the hold, began to leak, or the invisible volatile vapor built up to dangerous concentrations below deck due to faulty or insufficient ventilation. The highly flammable fumes, invisible and often odorless in small concentrations, might have created a profoundly terrifying, suffocating atmosphere below deck, leading the crew to fear an imminent and catastrophic explosion that would utterly obliterate the ship. In a desperate, split-second bid to escape the perceived invisible danger, they might have frantically launched the lifeboat and temporarily abandoned the ship, intending to wait for the fumes to dissipate in the open air, perhaps tethered nearby. A sudden, unexpected shift in wind, a rogue wave that appeared from nowhere, or a momentary, tragic loss of control in the vast, indifferent open sea could then have irrevocably separated the small, vulnerable lifeboat from the larger, now silently drifting vessel, leaving the Mary Celeste to drift away, her entire crew lost to the ocean's vast indifference. The empty barrels might have been the very ones that leaked, or were opened in a desperate attempt to inspect the perceived invisible threat. This theory attempts to explain the precise level of order in the captain's cabin, no panicked grab for essentials and the raising of the pump, suggesting a frantic attempt to ventilate the hold and clear the dangerous vapors. Yet the persistent question remains, why leave no note, no sign, no desperate message of their intentions, and why not attempt to signal the Dei Gratia when she eventually approached, a beacon of hope on the horizon? The inexplicable silence of the abandonment continues to baffle. Other, more esoteric or even wildly fantastical theories abound, testament to the human mind's relentless need to fill a void. Some whispered of a giant squid attack, a colossal cephalopod, unseen and monstrous, dragging the unsuspecting crew from the deck with terrifying speed and precision, leaving the ship untouched. Others spoke of alien abduction, a sudden, silent snatching from an otherworldly force, a silent beam of light lifting them into the heavens. The pervasive idea of a paranormal event, a ghostly presence, a malevolent spirit, or a sudden, inexplicable dimensional rift captivated many, offering an explanation beyond the realms of conventional understanding, a foray into the supernatural. These theories, while utterly lacking in concrete, verifiable evidence, highlight the human mind's desperate, enduring need to fill the void of the unknown with something, anything that might provide a narrative, even if it defies logic, even if it ventures into the realm of pure fantasy. The very lack of a conventional logical explanation seems to act as an irresistible invitation to the extraordinary, to the impossible, to the truly supernatural, an open door to the boundless imagination. Each theory, in its own intricate way, is a poignant testament to the bewildering, persistent nature of the Mary Celeste enigma. They are not definitive answers, but rather the collective whispers of humanity's endless curiosity, its tireless, often frustrated, efforts to unravel a knot that stubbornly refuses to yield to any logical tug. The sea, in its vast, silent, indifferent wisdom, continues to hold its secrets close, its fathomless depths swallowing any definitive truth, allowing these theories to drift and eddy like currents, perpetually swirling around the phantom vessel, perpetuating the profound, chilling mystery of the Mary Celeste, a ship that sailed into legend by simply ceasing to carry living souls, leaving only questions in her wake. In the immediate, bewildering wake of the Mary Celeste's enigmatic discovery and the subsequent salvage operation that brought her to port, an official Admiralty Court inquiry was promptly and quite rigorously convened in Gibraltar, the very destination that the phantom ship had so eerily failed to reach. This formal investigation, meticulously undertaken by legal and maritime authorities, comprised of experienced judges, assessors, and investigators, was tasked with the daunting and ultimately impossible responsibility of deciphering the inexplicable. What precisely had occurred aboard the Mary Celeste? Its very purpose was to bring clarity to an incident shrouded in profound, unsettling ambiguity, to impose a semblance of order and logical conclusion upon a chaotic and utterly unsettling absence, to find reason where seemingly none existed. The court's initial proceedings were predictably marked by a palpable atmosphere of deep suspicion, a pervasive undercurrent of skepticism, directed almost entirely and quite unfairly towards Captain Morehouse and his crew from the Dei Gratia. The discovery of a derelict ship, a vessel seemingly intact yet utterly abandoned, often triggered immediate and ingrained suspicions of deliberate foul play, particularly insurance fraud. It was a common, if deeply cynical, assumption in that era that Captain Morehouse and his men might have deliberately set the Mary Celeste adrift, or even orchestrated a hidden disaster, with the calculated intention of later claiming substantial salvage rights, thereby reaping a significant financial reward. Indeed, for a period that must have felt like an eternity, First Mate DeVoe was even physically detained under the chilling accusation of piracy, a grave and terrifying charge that powerfully underscored the initial profound mistrust and inherent bias of the authorities. However, as the meticulous inquiry painstakingly unfolded, as evidence was slowly, carefully presented and examined, the cold, hard, unyielding facts gradually yet powerfully began to contradict these initial cynical suspicions. Captain Morehouse and his crew were found to be seasoned mariners of impeccable reputation, universally known for their honesty, their unwavering integrity, and their profound professionalism. Their testimonies, delivered with a consistent, unembellished clarity, painted a compelling picture of genuine bewilderment and unwavering professional responsibility, rather than cunning deception or calculated greed. Furthermore, the very value of the Dei Gratia's own cargo, her hold filled with goods, far outstripped any potential salvage reward that could have been gained from the Mary Celeste, making the motive for elaborate fraud utterly illogical and economically nonsensical. The evidence, meticulously gathered from the abandoned ship itself, the untouched cargo, the personal effects of the crew, the very absence of any signs of violence or struggle, powerfully and irrefutably argued against any notions of deliberate foul play or a premeditated insurance fraud on the part of the salvors. The ship's bell, its most prominent form of communication, its loud, clear voice across the waves, remained securely in place, untouched, unmolested, a silent witness to a peaceful yet hurried departure. Despite this ultimate exoneration, this clearing of the salvors' names, the official inquiry ultimately arrived at no definitive, universally accepted conclusion regarding the crew's inexplicable disappearance. The evidence, though plentiful in its baffling contradictions, remained stubbornly insufficient to construct a coherent, logical, and universally satisfying narrative. Each new clue, rather than clarifying the profound mystery, seemed only to deepen it, to add another intricate layer of impenetrable ambiguity. The court's final pronouncement was a stark testament to its profound perplexity and its ultimate failure to solve the riddle. The Mary Celeste had been found, without a living soul on board, and her abandonment remained unaccounted for. This profound lack of resolution, this gaping void in the official record, left an intellectual vacuum, a narrative blank space that humanity's insatiable curiosity would forever attempt to fill with speculation and conjecture. The case was formally closed, but the riddle remained wide open, a haunting, persistent question mark etched onto the vast, indifferent expanse of the ocean, a challenge to reason itself. The unresolved nature of the Mary Celeste's fate immediately and profoundly captured the public imagination, transforming her from a mere maritime incident into a global phenomenon. In an era before instant global communication, before the rapid, widespread dissemination of news via radio or television, maritime mysteries often gained an almost mythical status, becoming cautionary tales whispered in dimly lit taverns, chilling legends recounted in the homes of seafaring communities, and moral parables for the masses. The story of the Mary Celeste, however, transcended mere cautionary folklore. Its unique and profoundly unsettling combination of a perfectly seaworthy vessel, an intact and valuable cargo, and the utterly inexplicable vanishing of every single soul on board elevated it instantly to the status of a profound, unsettling enigma. It became a universal symbol of the sea's inherent terrifying power to swallow humanity whole, leaving only profound silence and a chilling, inexplicable absence in its wake. The public, starved for stories that defied the mundane, that hinted at forces beyond human comprehension, embraced her with a fervent, almost eager fascination. The very ambiguity of the case, the profound lack of a simple answer, fueled endless speculation, allowing every individual to project their own deepest fears, their wildest theories, and their most vivid imaginations onto her silent, abandoned decks, shaping her legend with every retelling. The lack of a definitive, logical, and universally satisfying explanation for the disappearance was, paradoxically, the very element that ensured the Mary Celeste's enduring immortality. Had there been a clear conventional cause, a devastating collision, a catastrophic fire, a violent, inescapable storm, the story would have been swiftly catalogued, its tragedy noted, and then quietly receded into the vast anonymous archives of maritime history. But the Mary Celeste offered no such comforting closure. Her mystery remained tantalizingly open, an intellectual void that tirelessly drew in investigators, captivated writers, and intrigued curious minds for generations, a puzzle that resisted every attempt at completion. The unanswered questions clung to her like stubborn barnacles to her hull, growing larger, more complex, and more enduring with the relentless passage of time. A voyage from the bustling port of New York to the profound silence of oblivion became a potent symbol of the inexplicable, a haunting reminder that even in a world increasingly explored, scientifically understood, and meticulously catalogued, there remained profound, unsettling corners of the unknown, vast territories of mystery that stubbornly defied all human attempts at comprehension and rational explanation. Her silent drift continued, not just on the physical waves of the ocean, but in the collective consciousness of those who dared to ponder her fate, a ceaseless, spectral journey through the mind. The profound, unsettling enigma of the Mary Celeste, so stubbornly resistant to rational explanation, did not merely linger in the dusty archives of maritime courts or the musty reports of investigators. Instead, she embarked on a second, equally silent, yet far more pervasive voyage, a timeless journey into the vast, turbulent currents of human culture and popular imagination. She transcended her physical form. She became more than just a ship. She transformed into a potent symbol, a chilling archetype, a veritable ghost that haunted the collective unconscious of an era utterly fascinated by the mysterious, unfathomable depths of the ocean and the inherent limits of human understanding. Her empty decks became a stage for every conceivable fear and every wildest speculation. Her story was quickly devoured by the hungry public, its details consumed with a voracious appetite for the sensational. First, her tale appeared in breathless, often exaggerated newspaper accounts, their headlines screaming of the inexplicable. Then, she became the subject of sensationalized dime novels, where the bare, baffling facts of her discovery were liberally embellished with terrifying tales of grotesque sea monsters, of malevolent supernatural curses, of desperate, bloody acts of violence, and of dramatic struggles against unseen forces. These popular narratives, while often straying wildly from the sparse, contradictory evidence, served a crucial purpose. They solidified the Mary Celeste's place as the quintessential ghost ship, a vessel believed to be cursed by an unseen, malevolent force, forever drifting as a silent, chilling testament to the inexplicable. Her very name became synonymous with profound, unsettling abandonment, a chilling riddle whispered on stormy nights, a cautionary tale that sent shivers down the spine of even the most hardened sailor. The public, starved for stories that defied the mundane, that hinted at forces beyond human comprehension, embraced her with a fervent, almost eager fascination, allowing their imaginations to fill the terrifying void. Perhaps no writer captured the chilling, elusive essence of the Mary Celeste's profound mystery more effectively, or with greater literary impact, than Arthur Conan Doyle, the celebrated British author and the brilliant creator of the world's most famous consulting detective, Sherlock Holmes. In his seminal 1884 short story, J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement, Doyle offered a fictionalized yet utterly compelling and deeply unsettling account of the Mary Celeste, albeit under a subtly altered name to maintain plausible deniability. His narratives, meticulously woven with his characteristic flair for intricate deductive reasoning, profound psychological insight, and pervasive atmospheric suspense, skillfully explored darker themes of medical conspiracy, of hidden, insidious diseases at sea, and of profound psychological breakdown among a terrified crew, pushing them to irrational acts. While his ingenious explanation was entirely a product of his fertile imagination, a masterful work of fiction, it powerfully demonstrated the pervasive, profound hold the real-life enigma had on the creative minds of the era, pushing them to seek their own plausible, albeit fictional, solutions to the baffling, terrifying void of the unknown. Doyle's story, widely read and endlessly discussed, further cemented the Mary Celeste's iconic status in popular culture, irrevocably transforming her from a mere historical incident into a powerful, enduring literary archetype, a symbol of the terrifying, inexplicable abyss. Beyond the realm of pure fiction and sensationalized journalism, the Mary Celeste's enduring enigma also subtly yet profoundly seeped into the very language of nautical lore, and even into everyday idiom. To speak of a Mary Celeste situation was, and still is, to immediately evoke a vivid mental image of inexplicable, profound abandonment, of a place or situation where everything is apparently in perfect order, yet the people, the life, the very essence of human presence are inexplicably and chillingly gone. She became a potent shorthand for the profound unknown, a chilling reminder that not all questions, no matter how desperately pondered, have definitive answers, and that some disappearances are destined to remain forever beyond the grasping reach of human logic and conventional understanding. A silent voyage echoed endlessly in the familiar creak of every ship's timber, in the mournful cry of every distant foghorn, a phantom presence that seemed to linger on the vast, indifferent ocean, forever whispering its silent riddle. The enduring, almost magnetic fascination with the Mary Celeste also reflects a deeper, more fundamental human psychological need, the relentless, insatiable urge to unravel mysteries, to impose order upon perceived chaos, to bring light to the deepest shadows. In a world that was rapidly becoming industrialized, meticulously mapped, and scientifically understood, an era that prided itself on logic and reason, the Mary Celeste stood as a stubborn, defiant anomaly, a persistent blank space on the meticulously rendered canvas of human knowledge. She challenged the very notion of absolute certainty, reminding humanity that, even with all its technological advancements, all its scientific triumphs, there remained profound, unsettling corners of the universe that stubbornly resisted conventional explanation. Her story became a profound philosophical meditation on the inherent limits of human perception, the terrifying fragility of human existence in the face of nature's indifference, and the inherent, chilling unpredictability of the natural world. She was a silent, floating question mark, eternally challenging our assumptions. Even today, well over a century later, with all our modern advancements in forensics, in oceanography, in satellite tracking, the Mary Celeste continues to exert her chilling, undeniable pull. Researchers still pore over her sparse, tantalizing records, searching for a missed clue, a hidden detail. New theories, some outlandish, some surprisingly plausible, are occasionally proposed, sparking renewed debates and renewed fascination. Documentaries meticulously attempt to reconstruct her final baffling moments, desperately trying to fill the void of her absence. She is debated endlessly in online forums, rigorously analysed in academic historical texts, and whispered about in the hushed halls of maritime museums. Her absence is, paradoxically, her most profound presence. Her eternal silence, her loudest, most enduring story. The very lack of a definitive, universally accepted answer allows her legend to flourish, to adapt, to become whatever society needs it to be. A terrifying tale of supernatural horror, a complex puzzle for the intellect, a poignant symbol of the unfathomable, the unknowable. Ultimately, the Mary Celeste's profound legacy is not one of tragedy in the conventional sense, not a simple tale of shipwreck or loss, but one of enduring, unyielding mystery. She is a powerful, silent reminder that the ocean, that vast, indifferent entity, holds secrets far older and far more profound than any human mind can ever truly fathom. Her silent voyage continues, not on the physical waves, for her timbers have long since returned to the sea, but in the collective consciousness of those who dare to ponder the inexplicable, who find a strange, quiet comfort in the lingering, unsettling echoes of the unknown. She sails forever, a phantom ship, carrying within her ghostly timbers the whispers of a riddle that time itself has yet to solve, and perhaps will never solve. And perhaps that is precisely how some of the most enduring stories, the most profound enigmas, are truly meant to end, not with a final, comforting resolution, but with a profound, pervasive, and eternally unsettling question that invites endless contemplation. Sleep well, quiet listeners, knowing that some mysteries will forever remain beyond our grasp, forever comforting in their very unknowability.